Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining us. I'm also joined in the room by Ray Ora.
Hey.
Jonathan Voico.
Hello.
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a bunch of predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to go and take your live comments and questions. If you have a comment or question for the show, go ahead and use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Send it on in, and as long as it's appropriate for us to address on the show, we'll address it later on. And hey, by the way, the best thing about this tip link is if you're one of the many people who don't get to watch the show live, but you have a question you'd like to ask, you can go ahead and use the tip link anytime, 24/7, and we'll just get around to your question on the next episode. All right, guys. Couple things. Ray, you watched something last night you were kind of excited about. What's it called again?
Ultraman Rising.
I'll be honest with you. I know nothing about Ultraman. Nothing. All I know is that you've been like talking about it for like a month now. Was it any good?
Yeah, I thought it was really good because I was planning to fall asleep to it, but I actually ended up staying. I was so engaged with the story. I mean, it might not be for everybody. It's like 3 Men and a Baby, sort of. I would describe it like
I was not expecting to hear a description of Ultraman as 3 Men and a Baby.
It is kind of weird, but anyone who gives it a shot, they'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, I love the animation on it. I love the little Dodger hat he was wearing. So I mean, everyone should check it out, I think.
All right. Well, guys, listen, we got a few things to talk about here, so let's get to it, shall we? We're going to start with this. As I mentioned, we showed Ray Inside Out for the first time a couple of nights ago. Ann and I wanted to rewatch it anyway before we went to go see Inside Out 2 yesterday, which we did. Now, as of right now, the world seems to be really liking this movie.
Yeah.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93% critic score with about 170 reviews in, and a 95% audience score. So people seem to be really enjoying. Now, we talked about like some of the first reviews that came out the other day, because the general consensus seemed to be that while this movie, Inside Out 2, may not be quite as good as the original, it was still a big win for Pixar. That seemed to be the general consensus among a lot of the critics, that it's still beautiful and magical and wonderful and funny and warm, maybe not quite as good as the first one. So we went to go see part 2 the other day. You got to understand, I love the first Inside Out. I love this movie so much. So I went to go see it, sat through the first 30 minutes that we had already seen at CinemaCon this year. So I knew that stuff was coming. I already knew I loved the first 30 minutes. And I am so pleased to say that I think the movie just got better as it went. I mean, unlike Lightyear, where they showed us the first 30 minutes of CinemaCon, the first 30 minutes are amazing, and then it goes all downhill after that. Inside Out 2 manages this ramp up. They somehow found a way to make you feel that warmth and the beauty of life, and they made it funny and engaging. I loved all of the new emotions, including ennui, which I didn't think from the first 30 minutes I was going to like ennui, but I loved ennui. I loved envy. I ended up absolutely loving anxiety. Especially, they do something with anxiety right near the end of the film that just was, to me, like a perfect visual representation of anxiety, while at the same time making you feel really emotional. Anyway, I won't give away what it was, but they just did something great with it near the end. I adored it. And by the way, if you have not seen the movie already, when you go to see it, when there's a scene in Riley's bedroom, look on the wall and you will see a Four Town poster, which is, of course, the boy band from Turning Red. It's official. Inside Out and Turning Red are in the same cinematic universe.
Yeah.
So something to keep your eye on. Anyway, Chris, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I ended up agreeing with the other critics that I didn't think maybe it was quite as good as the first Inside Out, which, by the way, the first Inside Out has a 98%.
So, isn't it an Academy Award-winning film?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kudos.
It's spectacular.
It's a spectacular, nearly perfect movie. But so I liked the first one a little bit more, but I adored this film. I thought it was warm and funny and beautiful. And I know they're never going to make a third one. I think I heard somebody at Pixar mention will be it for Inside Out. But when it was done, I just wanted to see more. You know what I mean? Anyway, you had a chance to go see it. I know you really liked the first one.
I do.
Justice for Bing Bong.
Justice for Big Mom Forever. I can't believe you, Ray.
Yeah, Ray did not like Bing Bong so much. But I haven't asked you since you walked in the door. I have not asked you what you thought of this. What did you think of Inside Out 2?
I really liked it. I was so nervous going into this because we talked about this of, Big Mouth already dealt with anxiety in a really effective way. And while I know it's apples and oranges, one is geared towards kind of adults looking back and dealing with the anxiety they're now experiencing.
Right.
This does such a great job of talking about anxiety for kids. And the whole time I just kept thinking, if this movie existed in the 90s, so many people would be so much better adjusted. Yeah. We would have so many less therapy sessions just as a collective. Yeah. It's so well done. It's so well executed. And what this movie does really well, without getting into any spoilers, is what anyone does with a great quote unquote villain is they're not villainous, they're justified. And this does a beautiful job of all emotions have a place, just maybe not a specific time that they need to be operating on all cylinders.
Right.
It's really, really great. And it was so cute to come out of the theater. I saw a 3:00 showing yesterday.
So did we. Yeah.
And it was so nice to see all these families coming out, having all those kids laughing. And there was a mom who was out in the theater afterwards talking to one of her friends about how she was so glad that this was going to be this kind of facilitator to talk about her own anxiety with her kid. And I just got so happy to overhear that. I think people are going to have really great conversations because of this movie. And it's just fun. There's a great little video game reference in here that is so good. Oh, so great.
Which we did see in the first 30 minutes at CinemaCon, which pays off. There's so many things I want to say, but I can't because these great little bits.
I just want to say this is the one rare instance where everyone in the room has seen the movie. Even Jonathan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jonathan saw it yesterday too.
I saw the 5:30 showing.
What did you think about it?
I loved it. I mean, honestly, this is on par or maybe even better than the first one for me because the emotions were more complex.
Sure.
And just dealing
and you have 3 girls in your house around that ballpark age range.
Around that
Riley
kind of hover. They're all a little older than that, but still, I've been through it. I've been through it. So
that line of a preview of the next 10 years really resonate with you.
Yeah. And it just felt really real. I love the whole taking over and because, you can have anxiety issues. You could have just feelings of man, kind of go to the dark side because you just got to take care of yourself. But that's not going to put you in the best place or the best footing going forward, just even for your own health. So this thing, I just thought it was more complex. The only thing it didn't have compared to the first one was more engaging encounters along their journey.
Yes.
To get to their end goal. They had that safe room. Won't talk about it, but the safe room, and that was about it. And then not a lot of you had Bing Bong, you had that clown, you had other things in the first one.
It felt like emotional D&D.
But I felt more on the girl this time. So
can I ask you guys this question? Okay, so there's a character in the giant safe in this, which we're calling, it was kind of a prison, but the safe room, right?
Yes.
There's a character they encounter that doesn't end up going with them and just says, as they're departing, not yet. Which left me thinking we might come across this character later, and we never did. And that stood out to me.
That is the post-credit.
Is that the post-credit?
That's the post-credit.
See, I didn't stay for the post-credit. I didn't know there was a post-credit.
From what I understand, too, because the lights all came on, and I went, I guess I gotta go. They're cleaning the theater.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get out of here.
Theater really early, too.
Yeah, they wanted me to get the heck out of there. What I've read is that we don't know why they weren't ready, but somebody else is going to get that information given to them.
Okay. Well, there's that. Anyway, guys, Inside Out 2. We're going to talk a little bit more about it a little bit later in the show about its success. But quality, it's just a banger of a film. I absolutely adored it. It made me feel the way I felt when watching the first one. It's Pixar at its finest. I'm not saying it's the best Pixar film, but it's Pixar representing their finest. You know what I mean? So well done to everybody over there. Great movie. I plan on watching it again. Question is for you guys. Did you have a chance to see Inside Out 2? If so, what did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, Let's move on to this, shall we? At the end of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, they did a really pathetic post-credit scene that all of us knew wasn't going to go anywhere. When they teased that G.I. Joe was now in that world and they were looking at the Transformers, and we're like, well, that isn't ever going to happen. And yet here we are. The other day it was announced that Chris Hemsworth is in talks to lead a new G.I. Joe Transformers movie.
Because of course he is.
Because of course he is. And at that point, even then, in the back of my mind, part of me is thinking, that's fine, but I don't know that I really think this is going to happen. Well, they've just taken another big giant step forward, as the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that G.I. Joe Transformers now has got a writer in Jurassic World's Derek Connolly. They write this. Derek Connolly, the franchise scribe whose works include Jurassic World movies and Detective Pikachu, has a new sandbox in which to play. Connolly has been tapped to pen the script for Paramount's untitled Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover action project that is set to star Chris Hemsworth. Now, if you don't know the name Derek Connolly, that's fine, but he's worked on some pretty significant projects. Like the article says, he's worked on a couple of the Jurassic World movies, Detective Pikachu, Kong Skull Island, which I really quite like, of the Lego Jurassic World. He won a lot of awards for writing the screenplay for Safety Not Guaranteed.
I love that movie.
Love
Yeah.
that one.
Which is absolutely fabulous, and he won a Spirit Award and a bunch of other awards for that too. And, I mean, to be fair, he also did not write the screenplay for. He didn't write the screenplay for it, but he's got a story by credit on Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Yep, got two sides to every coin, I suppose.
Yeah.
Again, didn't write the screenplay, but does have a story credit on that. Had to mention that. So that's it. Look,
He just came up with the opening scroll. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Somehow,
throw that up there.
Turn. So whatever. But I mean, winning awards for one screenplay, a couple of big hit movies. Also did The Rise of Skywalker. Well, whatever. Everybody's got one bad day at the office. So I think this news has now put me at the point where I'm like, I guess Paramount's serious about this. I guess they're actually going to make this movie. By the way, in other Paramount news, just a side note, we're going to save this till Monday, but they also just announced today that Miles Teller is going to star in an Officer and a Gentleman remake. We'll talk more about that on Monday once we have the chance
Well,
to do
it makes sense. He's got no place else to go.
Yeah, he's oh,
You know.
Boy.
that's a little bit of a deep cut. But
Deep cut. If you guys know your film,
I'm so happy.
I don't know that, but I'm just clapping anyways because
so anyway, but here's Paramount with their stocks plunging into the ocean, and as their deals fall apart and all kinds of stuff, but they're still moving forward business as usual. And I guess they're gonna kind of make this Transformers G.I. Joe movie. I feel like
that was their pitch too.
I
guess we're just gonna do this.
Make it.
they're almost caught up to Blade. They might pass Blade.
Poor Blade.
So here's the thing. I still don't really know who this movie is for.
I'll take it.
Like this, I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be in line at this movie with an Optimus Prime and a Roadblock ready to go.
I love how you assume there's going to be a line.
The line of one.
What line are you talking about? We're straight in there.
Like, I'm in line. They're like, so you can just go in. He's like,
Take
but
your
I'm in
seats.
line.
Come on in.
I'm creating
Assuming
hype.
There's going to be a line.
John's just creating hype at the door. He's like,
I mean, listen, I'm going to be there, but I feel like this is a movie. If you're going to do G.I. Joe and Transformers, this is a movie you do 8 years ago. And not after you've run Transformers in the ground and then almost resuscitated it with Bumblebee, only to make the really stupid decision to not follow up Bumblebee, but instead go back to a Michael Bay era style Transformers movie with Rise of the Beasts. And by the way, I did not hate Rise of the Beasts. I kind of enjoyed Rise of the Beasts. I really did. But they made a big mistake. And G.I. Joe, I'm going to say the unpopular thing. It has no relevance anymore. I don't hear anybody talking about G.I. Joe anymore.
just on Toy Federation. Just
Yeah.
collectibles, you know?
I mean, there's not even a good G.I. Joe game. out there to spark interest.
You're right. There is no like video game
No,
IP stuff. For
you
that.
would think there would
That would
be,
be
like
great.
That would make sense.
a G.I. Joe game franchise.
I don't know why I never thought about that. So you said it.
You got Transformers game franchise. You got tons of Transformers games, stuff like that. But I can't think of a that. And so I just don't know. You know, Marcus Wise saying comic book, John. How many people read the comic book?
I didn't. Okay, did we not have this conversation this morning? I'm like, I knew there was G.I. Joe. Marvel did G.I. Joe. I did not realize that Marvel did G.I. Joe Transformers.
Oh, like
crossover
the comics,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why there would be any expectation that this is going to work. I think Paramount had a path to victory when they came out with that Bumblebee movie, directed by Travis Knight. That was the first Transformers movie since the first one that really truly had heart to it and was just a really enjoyable film. Why they did not move heaven and earth to get a pure follow-up to that movie, get Travis Knight back, get Haley Steinfeld back, expand the Transformers world there a little bit more with a Bumblebee 2, and then keep going. But instead, they kind of abandoned it and then came back with Rise of the Beasts, which most average moviegoers have never heard of Beast Wars or anything like that. And now they're just going to kind of throw the spaghetti at the wall with this. And again, I'm going to be there day one. Make no mistake about it. I totally will. But I just know there's going to be a lot of other people there for that. Chris, you're dying to see this movie. Explain why.
Thor?
I mean, we didn't cover that.
Thor? I don't know. For why? This is such a big for why for me. I don't understand why this exists, but hey, every pot has a lid, you know?
Every pod has
If you saw the movie, you know the reference.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not excited about the casting for Snake Eyes they announced?
Paul Walter Hauser. By the way, Ray said something to me yesterday that I thought was a joke because we were going to go, who did the voice of Embarrassment? Because Embarrassment only has like one line. And Ray goes, Paul Walter Hauser. I'm like, haha.
It was.
Oh, it was Paul Walter Hauser.
Yeah.
It was in like
Ridiculous.
everything.
He's in
now.
everything.
Sometimes I get things right.
And, to be clear, this could be a fantastic movie.
Could
It's
be.
kind of-
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely
honestly,
could be.
I would love to go to this movie and be like, holy shit, this is one of the best things I've ever seen. This is cinema. This changed the game. I'd love for that to happen. I just don't feel like that's going to be the case. But, hope springs eternal. So if this is a great movie, or if you're excited about it, that's great.
Yeah. And listen, the first trailer will kind of be but I don't know, like maybe Chris Hemsworth is but the first. What if we find out next week that like Denzel Washington has signed up as General Hawk?
I mean,
Or I don't know, like,
It would be great if G.I. Joe actually had a good movie first.
like
By itself, a good
Yeah.
solo movie first. I think it's just, hey, let's just shoe him in with Transformers.
Hey, you know what? Black Panther got introduced in the MCU in Civil War. So
That
maybe
Yeah.
that's how they bring it in. I know. I'm grasping at very thin straws. I understand. I'm just saying. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, Rise of Skywalker story credit aside, it seems like they've gotten on board a pretty capable screenwriter. Looks like they're going to have Chris Hemsworth on board. Do you see a potential? Do you see a road forward here for a G.I. Joe Transformers movie? I mean, I'm going to go no matter what, and I hope I love it. But is it going to find an audience? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, talking about things people love. And that's the world of Game of Thrones, and right now, House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon, we are nigh upon the debut of Season 2, which I cannot wait for. I
that Sunday?
love this show this Sunday.
Wow.
House of the Dragon popping out. And now they've confirmed that Season 3 has been greenlit. Ahead of that. This comes to us from CBR, who write the following. Big news has been revealed for the future of House of the Dragon. Shortly ahead of its second season premiere, it's been revealed that the Game of Thrones spinoff has been renewed. On Thursday, it was officially announced that House of the Dragon has been renewed for Season 3 on HBO and Max. The announcement comes days ahead of the Season 2 premiere on Sunday, June 16th. Francesca Orsi, the Executive VP of HBO Programming and Head of HBO Drama Series and Films, addressed the renewal in a statement when she said the following. George, Ryan, and the rest of our incredible executive producers, cast, and crew have reached new heights with the phenomenal second season of House of the Dragon, the statement noted. We are in awe of the dragon-sized effort the entire team has put into the creation of a spectacular season 2 with a scope and scale that is only rivaled by its heart. We could not be more thrilled to continue the story of House Targaryen and watch this team burn bright again for season 3. All right. So it's always a wonderful thing. And by the way, our Tor is at it again. Tor is up to his mischief again.
You gifting memberships
handing out gifted memberships to everybody. Thank you for that, Tor. Look, this is a series that everybody fell in love with. I mean, listen, there was a lot of questions going into the first season of House of the Dragon. I mean, I know it's easy to forget that now that we're on the other side of it and everybody knows how great the show is. But I mean, going into it, there were a lot of question marks. Because there are a lot of people who do not have my wisdom to see how good the final couple of seasons of Game of Thrones was. But that's fine. That's fine.
Wisdom?
But yeah, I call it sage wisdom. We'll call it sage wisdom. So going into the first season of House of the Dragon, there were a lot of people who did not like the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones. Fair enough. And so they understandably had a lot of question marks. A lot of people saying, I won't even give it a shot. Well, we knew that was a lie. But, you know, for a lot of fair reasons, a lot of people didn't have any belief. They didn't think there was any point in going back to it. And yet it came out, and with every foot fetish episode that passed, people fell more and more in love with this show. Given childbirth and walking up 10 flights of stairs, no problem for the Queen of the Black. I mean, people love the show. And so as we get so excited about season 2, I think it's a no-brainer that they go ahead and greenlight season 3. Here's my hope, though, Chris. My hope is that...
More foot stuff?
Please, more foot stuff. Please, more feet.
Great.
Me and Quentin just are like all about we just want more and more foot stuff. Rub those arches. So the question going into... I understand in the world of streaming... You never know if you're getting another season or not, right? So actors, they sign up and do a season, and then they have to fill up their schedule because a lot of times in the world of streaming, you get one season and that's it, maybe 2. So it's been a couple of years since our last season. My hope is that they greenlit this privately before they made it public. My hope is they greenlit this soon enough that we don't have to wait 2 years again for another season. But anyway, what do you think about this move on their part to greenlight season 3 already?
Oh, it shows so much confidence. So much confidence. Yeah. And rightly so, because this was a show that was breaking numbers, right?
Yeah.
People tuned in like this, like gangbusters. They were so excited about it. And it proved that no matter how you felt about how Game of Thrones concluded, that there was still interest in this IP. And it's been so well executed. You know, it's Succession with dragons. It's an excellent show that I am really pumped that we are getting into the meat of stuff now. Because season 1 did feel like kind of a prequel to what this show is supposed to be. We're leading up to this big conflict between House Black and House Green.
Right.
I'm thrilled to jump in here with all these shitty little kids. Oh, all of you are terrible. All of you are terrible people. You're all horrible. You all, I'd say you need your mother, but that's where a lot of things have gone wrong. So I'm real pumped about it. And honestly, anytime HBO goes ahead and gives the green light on something, I have so much respect for what they create and so much belief in what they create.
They're so good at what they do.
They're so good. And I think we can expect to see an incredible season. I'm pumped about it.
This Sunday starts up. Cannot wait. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? They have now officially announced season 3 is greenlit. They're who knows when they're gonna go into production on it. I hope it's soon. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of, franchises that people thought might be over, but it's back again. Jurassic World. They announced kind of surprisingly, admittedly, that a while ago that Scarlett Johansson had signed up to be in the new Jurassic World, which you thought, really? You're going to do more? Then again, the last Jurassic World did make over $1 billion at the box office. for whatever we think about that movie, it made over $1 billion at the box office. So then Scarlett Johansson signs up and we're like, oh, okay. By the way, how good is her, what's it called? Fly Me to the Stars, Take Me to the Moon.
Fly Me to the
Fly
Moon.
Me to the Moon.
Fly Me to the Moon. Oh, that looks so good.
I'm really excited about that.
Anyway, Scarlett Johansson is notoriously rather picky about the scripts that she agrees to be in. And then two-time Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali signs up.
And Blade
for it.
actor.
And Blade.
Talking about someone who has nowhere else to go right now.
Supposedly Blade
This
actor.
wonderful, sweet man who needs to be in film and is wasting his time.
He's sitting around
Gosh.
just waiting in Disney's waiting room. They'll see you now, Mahershala. Oh, great. Oh, no, wait. He's just got one more call. That's basically Mahershala Ali's existence
But
right
just
now.
think of all the research he's done on this character.
So much time for research.
Oh my
Such
God.
high quality research. So you got Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali doing it. And now, I mean, if you just want the tangibilization of this thing, according to reports, it's actually started shooting. This thing is not theoretical anymore. And we got our first little details. This comes to us from CBR, who write the following. Per Variety, principal photography on Jurassic World 4 has officially begun. The standalone sequel to Jurassic World Dominion is kicked off filming in Thailand. It's got to be warm over there, with director Gareth Edwards at the helm. According to the country's Department of Tourism Director General Jataran, sounds like a Decepticon. Jataran, Jurassic World 4's Thailand shoot will last until July 16th. The movie will reportedly be filmed in multiple locations, including Bangkok and the Hawaii to Waterfall. At this time, it's unclear which cast members are in Thailand for the shoot. Now, then it goes on and gives a little bit of detail. It says, the first plot details for Jurassic World 4 have also been released. The seventh film installment in the Jurassic franchise was written by David Cope, who previously scripted Jurassic Park, the original in 1993, and The Lost World, and is being touted as a completely fresh take, launching a new Jurassic era, following 3 adults and 3 teens getting stuck on the island. That's all we
Comedy
know.
ensues.
Hilarity
Ensues.
ensues. All right. First things first. The tangibilization. They've actually started shooting it.
Right.
It didn't feel like that many weeks ago that I didn't really think they would do this movie. Here we are. We got a couple of major stars, and they're actually shooting the movie now. Okay. I want to talk for a second about the plot details they just gave us, because I had 2 very different trains of thought. First, when I read 3 adults, 3 teens getting stuck on the island, I admit my first thought was, seriously? Again? Like, how many times are we going to go back to that? Like, we obviously did that on the original, then we did it in one of the sequels, then we did it in one of the Jurassic Worlds. I mean, like, oh no, we got stuck on the island. At some point, when do you make sure people can't get stuck on an island? And just at some point.
Real life has proven to me that no one learns anything, so I can buy this belief.
Right. So I can get
I can get on board with this reality
I
of
wonder how much of this island's left, because didn't it blow up from a volcano?
I mean, they didn't say which island. They're
that's
not
fair.
saying which
They're
island.
theorizing it's
That was
nuclear.
just an island.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yoshi's Island.
but
Oh yeah, that's right.
Gilligan's Island. There's the crossover.
ooh.
So, but then I had another thought. And the other thought was this. The formula works. Think about it. And I'm not saying this to disparage the genre, but every damn zombie movie's the same. They're all the same. Some are significantly and much better than others. Train to Busan, Shaun of the Dead, you know, there's great zombie stuff. I'm not saying there's not, but really when you boil it down to its essential elements, they're all the same. But it's a formula that works.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a good zombie movie. I mean, look, they're all the same. A zombie breakout happens. There's a few survivors on the run trying to avoid the zombies from catching them and eating them. Okay, this is the same thing. But you do a good one and it really, really clicks and it really, really works. And maybe there's an argument to be made that, listen, for Jurassic Park, it doesn't matter that it's another island. People stranded in an isolated place with dinosaurs trying to eat them, and you're just trying to survive. When done well, it works. And maybe there's a part of this that's them wanting to just kind of get back to their basics. Kind of like how Fast and the Furious, is saying that Fast 11 is just going to be about car racing and a heist again, just bringing it back to its core.
Ooh.
Maybe that's what Jurassic World is doing. Let's bring it back to its core. And that might actually be the smart thing to do. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this. The movie is shooting. It's about 6 people getting stuck on an island. I wish it was more because that means there'd be more victims to be eaten. But anyway.
There might be people there, though.
Yeah, there might be others.
That's true.
What do you think about this?
It's one of those things that just makes sense ultimately to keep continuing to make these movies. This is a several billion-dollar franchise that is not only wildly nostalgic for some people, it is also toyetic. It ties into the theme parks. It is a big, big moneymaker. And we did have a significant drop in the box office with these. When you go to Box Office Mojo, right, Jurassic World, that's over $6 billion in lifetime gross. Then you jump down to 417. Then you jump down to 376. So they started losing money as they went along, and also I would argue
domestically.
Yes, domestically.
Yeah.
And like the quality, in my opinion, did also degrade as well. So it makes sense that we saw that drop off, but that's still enough money that Universal is going to keep wanting to make
That'll
these.
pay for your kids' college
Yeah,
bills.
and people continue coming back to them. So perhaps getting back to basics, getting down to the nuts and bolts of what this franchise is about, and injecting it with new star power. The fact that Scarlett Johansson is in this, I think, is huge.
Yeah, it's a massive. It can't be overstated.
So I think, and then having Mahershala in there, oh my gosh, just 2 Academy Award caliber actors in the mix. That's massive for this. So as long as they get a great script in there, as long as they give us those jump scares and moments that stay with you. I mean, I still look at Jell-O and think about that Jell-O shaking on the spoon from way back when. So as long as they can kind of find those other ways to revisit the magic that Spielberg first struck, this could have so much potential.
By the way, I just thought of it. I got it. Totally got it. So Jurassic is Universal, right?
Yes.
So Universal, Paramount team up, G.I. Joe's Transformers versus dinosaurs.
I was already thinking about
in
that.
Jurassic, the true Jurassic World.
Because of the writer crossover anyway.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, there you go. Make it happen. 100%
Sniper
billion-dollar
rifles
film.
on dinosaurs.
And it doesn't have to be rated R because dinosaurs can like literally rip the rims off of Transformers, and it's not human beings, it's not blood, all PG. Everybody will love it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The new Jurassic World 4, which it'll clearly have a different title, but has now officially started shooting. And we know what it's going to be about. It's the tried and true Jurassic formula. Bunch of people stranded on an island with dinosaurs. Good move, bad move. I got to admit, I'm intrigued by it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen. We still have a couple of other things to talk about, including Inside Out 2 just set the year's record for opening day at the box office. And speaking of box office, to quote Samuel L. Jackson, hold on to your butts. Deadpool and Wolverine right now is being projected to absolutely annihilate certain box office records and perhaps become a top 5 biggest opening of all time. Are there still questions about whether or not this is going to be a billion-dollar film? Anyway, we're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. When they arrived at our house, my wife Ann loved to feel them so much, she couldn't even wait for me to get home to put them on our bed. Miracle Made has self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. Miracle Sheets also have incredible comfort and quality. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to trymiracle, that's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one. If you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this. So we already talked a little bit earlier in the show about Inside Out 2, and we all loved it. Again, I don't think it's quite as good as the first one, but it was magnificent. But one of the things that Inside Out 2 was hopefully a representation of was what would mark, hopefully, fingers crossed, a turnaround in the box office fortunes of 2024. Obviously, up until this point, with a few notable big wins, Bad Boys just had a fabulous opening weekend and stuff like that. But 2024 has been a struggle at the box office for a lot of films. But again, we kind of talked about in 2023 how the first half would be, with the labor disputes and all that kind of stuff, all these movies moving out of their release dates. You had a more limited big releases. We had multiple weeks with no wide release films coming out. It was going to be a struggle. But the question was, once Inside Out comes out, and then we also have other films, Despicable Me, Moana 2, Joker, Wolverine 3, or Deadpool 3, I should say, how is it going to turn around? Well, if the first day is any indication, not bad. Because according to Variety, Inside Out 2's opening day just set the new record for the year for its opening weekend, for its opening day box office. Variety wrote the following: "Move out of the way, sadness. Inside Out," I love sadness, by the way. Inside Out 2 just scored the biggest box office previews of 2024. Disney and Pixar's latest animated outing grossed $13 million in Thursday previews domestically, plus $22.3 million internationally. The family-friendly sequel is projected to launch between 80 to 90 million this weekend. By the way, I saw a number of other projections now due to the opening day previews saying that this thing could open to over $100 million.
Wow.
We'll see. A debut on the higher end would give Inside Out 2 the biggest opening of the year. Warner Brothers currently holds the top 2 spots of 2024 with Dune Part 2 that had an opening weekend of 82.5 million and Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire that had an opening weekend of $80 million. All right. When they first announced, we talked about it on the show 3 or 4 weeks ago, that Inside Out 2 was projecting for $80 to $85 million opening weekend. I was thrilled, but I'll admit, I was also a little skeptical and dubious that it could actually do that. Again, just look at this year's movies, right? Bad Boys, which huge, big win for them, had like a $50 million opening weekend, or 52, somewhere in that neighborhood. Anyway, it was
56.
good. $56 million, huge, right? Could it actually get 80 to 85? I mean, it didn't need to get 80 and 85 to be successful. But then we went to go see it at a 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday screening yesterday, and our theater was full. Mm-hmm. Your theater was full.
My theater was full.
Jonathan?
This is for Inside Out 2?
Yeah, it was your theater?
Yeah, and the theater was like hyped, and I don't mean just the kids.
Yeah, it was,
the adults were like buzzing in the theater.
We had people applauding at the trailers in our theater,
and people were just like laughing out loud to the movie. So it wasn't just for the kids, man.
Yeah, it was also my most well-behaved audience of 2024, and it was full with children.
Yeah,
filled with them.
I actually had, for the first time in a long time, I had a dude in front of me. Granted, he only did it once, but he literally pulled out his phone and was just scrolling through his social media for about a minute and a half.
No.
And I was getting ready to grab him by the neck, and I realized it was like a 16-year-old kid. I thought, I'm going to give him another minute. And then he put it away, and granted, he never pulled it out again after that. So there was that. But I was literally in front of a bunch of other children, murder another human being.
Boredom had taken over him.
Yeah, and we had gotten to him. But we came out of that, and I'm going, maybe that 80, 85 isn't unrealistic. And now with it like eclipsing the previous year's records for the opening day, and that is a Thursday. I think listen, I don't know for sure, but I went from being dubious that this thing could make 80 to 85 to now I kind of do think the $100 million opening could be feasible. It might happen for this. If not, I think it'll get close. And if it does, the reason I think this is so important is that it will show again, like whenever doubt starts to emerge, something comes along to set the record straight. People love going to the movies. And if you deliver a good theatrical experience, people have a ball, they have a good time, they'll buy soda and popcorn. And full credit to the theaters I was in, because knowing it's a kids movie, they started it only 15 minutes after start time instead of the traditional 30 minutes after start time, because they know they got a lot of kids in there, I'm guessing. But this is huge, because now if this movie can like hammer out a $90 million opening weekend and go on to make, and by the way, traditionally speaking, most movies that open around 80 to 90 million go on to make minimum 475, 500, 600, $700 million. Now, whether or not Inside Out 2 will get to that height, don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it certainly looks like the weekend is good. And with the other bangers we got coming down the road, 2024 could very well be more than just salvaged, but it could actually end up being a pretty decent year. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this. Biggest opening day box office of the year so far. Does this surprise you? Does it not? How big can the full opening weekend be? What does it say for the rest of the year, if anything at all? How do you see it?
Doesn't surprise me, because much like Jonathan already brought up here, this is a movie that kids and adults have been excited for and are going to continue going out and seeing. It reminds me a lot of the Mario box office potential, honestly, because you had so many people going to see Mario over and over again.
Yeah.
Not only adults who just love Mario.
There's going to be a lot of
but
word of
kids.
mouth on this.
There's going to be so much.
Yeah.
And kids love this movie. I don't know if we'll have the same kind of phenomena of families dressing up to go see this like we did with Super
Maybe,
Mario
but-
Brothers.
yeah.
But I think this has a lot of rewatchability. I think this is for, child-free people like me. I love this. This is made for millennials. People with families are going to love this. Adults who just like Pixar are going to love this. Tiny kids are going to love it. I think this speaks really, really highly of the return to going to seeing things in theaters, so long as we also don't shorten the window of when this is in theaters and move it to streaming immediately.
Good segue, because it's guaranteed for 100 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about looking at having a full 100-day theatrical window. And the other thing about Inside Out 2 that I think it is a good representation of Pixar's overall philosophy. Pixar does not make kid films. They make kid-friendly films.
Exactly.
I saw there's a good discussion going on in the live chat where somebody mentioned like, hey, as an adult, I'm not going to go see Paw Patrol, but I have no problem going to a Pixar film, which is an excellent point, because there were a lot of adults in those theaters, adults without kids, who walked out smiling and grinning. When Pixar is at its best and it's firing on all cylinders, that's the magic of a Pixar film. It appeals to the kids, yes, because it's kid friendly, but in many ways it's targeted at the adults. The Incredibles is a great example of this. The Incredibles, very fun for kids, but everything about Mr. Incredible, talking about reminiscing about his glory days, about are my best days behind me as a beyond middle-aged man now? How can I capture? Like, all these are concepts that no kid would understand. And a lot of that philosophy, I feel like they brought into Inside Out 2, because you were pointing out, Chris, there are jokes and lines in this, and Jonathan was mentioning it too, that no kid will get.
They're not made for them.
No,
It's made for an adult.
Yes.
Well, and I do want to just address this further too, because the chat was having this conversation as well of, you don't feel weird seeing a movie like this without kids? No, I
What?
don't.
Yep.
I don't
It's
feel
like maybe
weird.
a Paw Patrol movie,
said
but
that?
not a Pixar film. Yeah.
I'm going to go see a Pixar film because it is using the medium of animation. Once again, y'all, animation is not a genre that means for children. It is a medium in which you are telling a story. Now, are there animated films that are geared towards children? Absolutely there are.
And there are live action films geared towards children.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is one of those films like you're talking about here that bridges that gap of there are so many things in this that are going to be written specifically for an older audience. And there's things that are written specifically for that younger audience to enjoy as well, so that everyone can go see this movie and have a great time.
Yeah. And someone was like, this is a kid's movie and I stand by my words. Fine. Don't go.
Yeah.
Enjoy not experiencing the wonderful writing,
you
the
are
comedy.
allowed to be
Just
ignorant.
Go ahead
You
and
have
close the
every
door
right
for
to be
yourself.
ignorant. Yes.
If you want to close the door for yourself, no one's forcing you to. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Die on that hill.
I
We
mean-
had fun.
Yeah.
There's somebody in the live chat says, but wait a minute, the lead character in the movie is like 13, and the lead character and up is like 95. what's the
Wasn't
point?
Luke 16?
Yeah, Luke was like a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Is Star Wars just for teens? I mean, it's just, again, this is representing Pixar's philosophy to a T. Most of their movies are written towards adults while being kid accessible. And that's the beauty of it and why they've had so much success historically. And why I think when you go into a movie theater now and you get into these full movie theaters for Inside Out 2, you're seeing it parents with kids and adults by themselves, not a lot of single adult, but like just adults, groups of adults going to go see it. Because these Pixar films, when done right, they hit all of us on different levels. And even when they're dealing with things like Riley's entering high school and all the stuff that go like that, there wasn't a single adult in that place that didn't relate, that didn't understand that and remember going through that. It's just, again, I'm not saying it's the best Pixar movie, but it represents Pixar at its best when they are doing the things that they do so well. And I was a little bit doubtful going into it, but after seeing it, I'm not surprised at all now, seeing the type of success and how many people are flooding out to it. And while I'm not predicting it'll be $100 million come Monday, I'm not going to be surprised if it hits $100 million for an opening weekend by Monday. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about this? Are you surprised? Were you thinking it was going to hit 100 million the whole time? Were you like me that thought maybe 50 to 60 was more realistic? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? In what is undoubtedly the most anticipated movie of the year, not for everyone, but I mean overall in general, what is easily the most anticipated movie of the year, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming. And we've been talking a lot about it. And in terms of, it often comes up, how much do you think it can make? And when people ask how much money do you think it can make, what you're really asking is, how many people will be excited to see this? How many people are going to want to make plans, buy tickets, run out, and be a part of Deadpool and Wolverine when it comes? I've said for a long time that I absolutely believe Deadpool and Wolverine will be $1 billion film. So long as it's good. If the movie is junk, it'll still make a lot of money, but it won't make $1 billion. But if the movie is good, I think this is going to be $1 billion film. And a lot of people have looked at me and guffawed at that notion. John, R-rated films don't make $1 billion.
Except for Joker.
Well, except for Joker, but that's the exception, right? They're not wrong. Only one R-rated film has ever made $1 billion, and that was Joker. But you had two Wolverine films, or Deadpool films, that both made north of $700 million. Now, on top of that, you've got the existing popularity of the character, and it's been forever since we had him. And Ryan Reynolds is arguably bigger today than he was when he made the Deadpool films. And now he's in the MCU. And now Hugh Jackman is coming out of retirement to play Wolverine. And what I would tell people is, if you don't think all of those things combined can equal another $250 million at the box office, okay. But I think it will. And then we've been talking about how much will it make opening weekend. Well, oh my God. Deadline is now reporting a number that even I did not think. I want to put something in perspective for you before we read this. The biggest opening weekend in history for an R-rated film. Let me just make sure, don't go to my screen or anything here, Jonathan. I want to make sure I got this right.
All right.
The biggest opening weekend for an R-rated film in history is the number 42 biggest opening weekend of all time, and that's the first Deadpool. And it made $132 million on its opening weekend. Okay? I'm just setting the stage here. The number 42 biggest opening weekend ever, the biggest opening weekend for an R-rated film ever, and it made $132 million on its opening weekend. All right? That's our context. Let's go see what Deadline had to say. Deadline wrote this morning, exclusive. Marvel/Disney, Deadpool and Wolverine hit its 6-week tracking. We're 6 weeks out this morning, and man, does it look amazing. The Quorum, which actually monitors picks 6 weeks ahead, is reporting a projection of $200 to $239 million opening weekend, which the service actually believes is a conservative estimate.
Wow.
Is a conservative estimate. Let's give an asterisk. There has never been an R-rated film before that has opened at 200 million. And by the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman threequel busting that sphere, it will be an anomaly. The current record for an R-rated opening film, domestic box office, is owned by the original Deadpool, which posted 132.4 million back in February 2016. So even if Deadpool and Wolverine comes out at $150 million opening weekend, keep in mind that it's not clear if the younger Disney Marvel Studio parents/fans realize this is R-rated, it will still represent the biggest opening for both Ryan Reynolds, the biggest opening he'll ever have, and the biggest opening for a Hugh Jackman film that he's ever had. At that level, it will also be the highest opening of the summer, besting even this weekend's anticipated $100 million start for Disney Pixar's Inside Out. The biggest R-rated opening ever is number 42 on the list at 132. And they're saying conservatively that this movie's making $200 to $240 million. I want to put this in more context. Let's go over and look at this. This is the biggest weekends of all time. Avengers, obviously, Avengers Endgame, number one at 357. I'm not sure that record's ever going to be beat. Spider-Man No Way Home at 260. Avengers Infinity War at 257. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens at 247. At number 5, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi at $220 million opening. All right. If this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, an R-rated film that has never been above number 42 on the opening weekend chart, if it can open even midway in the projections and hit 221 million, which they are saying is a conservative estimate at this point, Deadpool and Wolverine will leapfrog over Star Wars Episode 8 and become the number 5 biggest opening film in the history of cinema. From number 42 to number in the top 5, joining the top 5 of the biggest films in history. Tell me again that people are not still hungry. Tell me more about this comic book movie fatigue. Please, I'll wait. Tell me more about it. I'd love to hear more. People do not have comic book movie fatigue. They have mediocre movie fatigue. And when you got a movie coming out that has things that excite them, that looks like it could, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't know, we're hoping, will be a return to form for the genre, all that kind of stuff, people will get stoked and excited. And I love what Deadpool wrote in there, saying, look, let's say it misses its projections. Let's say it misses its projections by like a full 25% and makes like 150 million opening. Okay, let's say that. It misses its projections entirely, gets a $150 million opening. Guess what? That still puts it in the top 30 openings of all time and still shatters the existing R-rated opening box office record. But I believe they are not overshooting their estimates. I believe this movie will make over $200 million in its opening weekend. I believe they're right that the estimates could be conservative. 250 may not be off the table. And by the way, if it does get 250, it leapfrogs another Star Wars film and gets the number 4 spot for an all-time opening weekend. And not for nothing, if you go down this list, all top 10 movies that made $191 million or more on its opening weekend, guess what all those films have in common? They all joined the $1 billion club.
Yeah,
every single one. Every single movie in the top 10 has joined the $1 billion club. And actually, if you keep going down, it's not until number 11, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness with $187 million, that barely missed out on the $1 billion club.
It was close.
Every film in the top 10 opening weekends has joined the $1 billion club. So, if Deadpool and Wolverine sucks, I believe it will not make $1 billion. But does anybody now still believe that even if the movie's really good, that this movie won't be $1 billion film? I'm not saying 1.5. I'm not saying 2 billion. But I mean, these numbers are insane. And again, sometimes people will ask me, I understand. They'll say, John, why is it you care so much about the money in the movies? It's because of what box office represents. Box office doesn't represent dollars. What it represents is people. It represents what we as an audience want or don't want to see. It represents about what's attracting us to projects and to movies. What is motivating? What types of projects are motivating us to get out of our damn fat ass couches, get out the door, and get our fat asses out to the movie theaters to see things? What things are doing that? Deadpool and Wolverine is doing it, and it's doing it in spades. Now, I don't know how big this thing will end up being. Maybe it misses that 200 million. I don't think it will. Chris, you hear this report. What's like the biggest thing that's standing out to you about it when you hear about this?
I think that everyone's being too conservative. I think you are. I think they are.
I am.
Yes, I do. I think, you know that scene in Parks and Rec where Ron says, I don't think you heard me. I want all the bacon eggs.
Bacon eggs you have.
That's how Deadpool is with money.
It's going to make all the money.
It's going to make all the money. It's going to make every bit of money. Y'all are going to get that popcorn bucket. Y'all are going to see this movie multiple times. I think this is going to blow the doors off the box office. Do I think it's going to do like Endgame numbers and things like that? No. But I think this is going
I don't
to
know
do
that
great.
That's ever going to be beat.
Yeah. That was a perfect storm, and it's going to take, I think, years to have something else like that happen again. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel about it. I think this is going to open really strong. I think it's going to have great legs. And again, this goes to show that Disney focusing, potentially, if this does well, potentially focusing on quality over quantity, not inundating us with superhero properties every single month, leaves us hungry for more. We want to go see this stuff. We don't have fatigue. We want to go jump there and see a good story. And the original Deadpool 2, it was a superhero movie disguised. It was a rom-com at its heart.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was.
And these are movies that appeal, again, another movie that appeals to a wide audience of all kinds of people. My friends who are not into comic books, who will begrudgingly see a comic book movie with me and be like, what is happening? Tell me the footnotes. Just give me the details. They love Deadpool. They absolutely love Deadpool. And they loved that Logan movie. So I think so many people are going to run to theaters to see this. And it just looks fun.
Now, still, the big elephant in the room, though, is still that R rating, right? Which, again, does not keep kids from seeing it. Because I 100% believe there are going to be parents who make questionable parental choices like I would if I had a kid right now, and will absolutely bring their kids to go to see Deadpool Wolverine. Maybe not their 6-year-old, granted, but I think there's going to be a lot, but still, there's a reason why up until this point, the highest that an R-rated movie has ever been on the opening weekend chart is number 42. That just so happened to also be a Deadpool movie. So I get it. That is still the elephant in the room, how much that will play into it. And you know what? I like what the writer on Deadline said about this. Is like, it's a little unclear right now if some of the people that are saying they're going to go to see this movie may not yet understand that it's an R-rated film. Although if you watch the trailers, I don't know how you don't understand this is an R-rated film. But still,
I don't know how you buy a ticket and not realize it's an R-rated film.
Again, you guys, the world has proved that people don't read, that people don't know things. You can say the F word right in their face, and they're like, it's probably PG-13.
Oh, there's going to be people who are like, oh, I thought this was a comic book movie, and I was offended, and I had to leave, and I had to get my money back. It's
well,
like,
listen,
why didn't
if any of them
you
at
look at
least
what it was
see
rated?
in their theaters that little turn your phone off segment that they're playing in theaters right now with Deadpool and Wolverine, I mean, that should tell them it's going to be an R-rated film.
Yeah.
But it's still,
It won't.
I mean, it is crazy how ludicrously big. Now, Ray,
Yeah.
I think you guessed higher than I did when we
Yeah,
talked about what did you guess it would be?
You keep going to that 150, but
I kept going to 150. Yeah. Which would, again, would be the biggest R-rated opening movie in history. But you went over me.
I just kept saying 172 for some reason. I have no idea. Now I'm rethinking it. Maybe it'll be higher. I mean, there's a lot of people. I know we laughed at it at the time. I mean, when it was brought up, there's some people in our chat that were saying 200 million opening.
No, there were. And I thought they were crazy.
And now they're looking like geniuses, maybe.
Well, I didn't think 200 was crazy, but like 220, 230, 240. Some people in our live chat over the shows have said, I think it's going to make 250. And I laughed. Ha ha. Thy knave fool. And yet, who's the fool now? Because it looks like maybe they were right.
Well, another thing I said was it's going to make more than Multiverse of Madness opening, which was
180 something.
Yep.
Yeah, 187. I think Multiverse of Madness made.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it looks like it's going to beat that easily now.
I mean, look. There's a Deadpool vodka gin that's out right now. Deadpool edition.
I've got
Yeah.
3 bottles.
That beautifully smoked
I
bottle.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I could watch Comedy Central, my office marathon every day without seeing a Deadpool, Wolverine, anything like in the commercials. It's ramping up. It's only gonna get. The marketing's only gonna get harder.
Oh, they're just getting started.
Yeah.
So
I really would love to see the budget for their marketing, man.
if there's only one movie coming out from Marvel this year,
Yeah, there
they
is.
picked a
this
good
is it.
movie.
And this
They
is
picked a
it.
good movie.
And I'm telling you, I think people are going to finally start to wake up that, oh, this movie really is going to be big. Oh, make no mistake. And here's the thing. Whatever it makes opening weekend, whether it's 200, 220, hell, 250, it's nothing compared to how much they're going to make selling that damn popcorn bucket.
Oh yeah.
And I still believe we're going to get a second popcorn bucket. Because remember, we had
Wolverine.
we had a Wolverine popcorn bucket designed by Deadpool. I completely believe we're going to get a Deadpool popcorn bucket designed by Wolverine. And I don't know that for a fact. I'm just guessing, but I think and oh my God, they are going to make. Everybody's putting in the Wolverine popcorn bucket emoji in the live chat now. That is going to make so much. Those buckets are going to sell out so fast. Buy them as quick as you can. It's going to be great. The movie, I cannot wait for this damn thing. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The 6-week tracking right now is saying conservatively $200 to $240 million opening weekend, which in the midpoint would be enough to put it into the top 5 biggest opening films in history and absolutely annihilate the existing record for biggest opening for an R-rated film ever. Every movie in the top 10 has gone on to make at least $1 billion at the box office. How are you feeling about this? Do you think maybe they're overestimating? Do you think, yeah, they're being too conservative? It's going to be more. Are you rethinking your position about whether this can be a $1 billion film or not? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is you guys taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode, our friends at The Perfect Gene. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Gene. Guys, are you tired of the rough and rigid jeans crushing your boys? Well, today's sponsor, The Perfect Gene, finally solved all of your denim difficulties. They make great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are as comfortable as sweatpants. The secret? A special denim fabric that is super soft and has the perfect amount of stretch so you can squat, do yoga, or just sit around all day without ever having to take them off. I'm going to admit I was a little bit skeptical because to me, jeans have always been jeans. They're practical, but not always the most comfortable. But I'm telling you guys, it's not an exaggeration. Once I put on these jeans, the Perfect Gene redefined what jeans can be to me. They're the perfect fit, they stretch, they breathe, and again, they're just insanely comfortable. So guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectgene.nyc/Campea15. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns and free exchanges when you use code Campea15 at checkout. Again, that's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc/Campea15 and use the code Campea15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. And thank you to our friends at The Perfect Gene for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, let's get over to your live comments and questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, we got Jairus, who says, I know that there's been speculation about who's going to play Lady Deadpool. I don't know why, but when I first saw the clip of her legs, I thought maybe Jodie Comer will play her, but I guess we'll find out when the movie comes out.
Well, I mean, there's two important things to keep in mind. Number one is that it almost really doesn't matter who's going to be Lady Deadpool because Lady Deadpool is going to be a quick cameo. I mean, that's that. Part two, that's a good guess. Jodie was, like, of course, Ryan's co-star in that fabulous movie Free Guy. So that could be, I mean, there are still reports out there right now saying, oh, Taylor Swift's not in the movie. I'm going to channel my inner Chris Carr and go, I don't believe them. I
don't.
No, it's a lie.
We trust and love no one.
there's
No one.
No truth to it. She'll be in there, I still believe. I don't know that for a fact, but anyway. But Jodie Comer's not a bad guess for that. All right, what's next?
Jairus is back and says, hypothetical question. If an average civilian wanted to pitch a show to a network studio,
can't.
what should be the realistic steps? You send them to Rob. I'll give you the email after the show. I know emailing the studio won't do anything, but also, do you think Andor is the best thing since the original trilogy?
Obviously, yes, it is. But no, the answer, unfortunately, is you can't. There's no way to do that. If you really want to get something in front of the studio, your best and most practical and very difficult, nonetheless, approach is get yourself a reputable literary agent. That's really the only way, because there are certain literary agents that the studios will work with, but they do not take unsolicited stuff from people. They can't. They have to legally protect themselves. Here's the thing. Let's say they allowed you to submit a pitch and they turn it away. Let's say 7 years from now, they come up with another idea that coincidentally has like some minor resemblance to the pitch you gave 7 years ago. Well, now you can go and sue them and say, you stole my idea. And they're going to like, we don't even know who you are. 7 years ago, I pitched my thing to you, and you guys have a computer hacker named Ted, and my idea had a computer hacker named Ted, right? The thing is, they got to protect themselves that way. So the reality is you can't. If you're really serious about it, though, work really hard, write a bunch of stuff, and then see if you can get yourself a literary, like a reputable literary agent. It's not easy to do it. I don't think for anybody it's easy to get, like Chris, like getting a good talent agent is very, very difficult.
It's rough. Another thing you can do too is you can go through the WGA and register your scripts. So there can be a tracking of those timelines and you have all of that. But again, if it is just little things like, oh, I had two people who hated each other and then they fell in love. Really? That's so novel.
Yep, they got to protect themselves.
Yeah, it's rough. It's really rough to get a literary agent in particular. I think it's even harder, honestly, than getting an acting agent.
All right, what's next?
Everyone's friend Ryan Reynolds is back and says, over under 60% Jordan Peele gets announced as director of Blade. Seems kind of convenient that we hear he met with Marvel and then soon after the director leaves. Also, did they say filming is supposed to begin soon?
Yeah, well, filming is supposed to begin this year. Look, I said on the show the other day, before they announced the departure of Yann Demange, that he was no longer going to be directing, last week I said on the show that I kind of believe that Jordan Peele may have been meeting with them for the Blade project. And even though they already have a director, which they did at the time, I said the script and story are probably completely different now than what they were when they first brought him on. They may be thinking that, oh, he was great for that Blade we were going to make, but we're kind of making a different Blade now. So, and I've already said on the show before, I believe it's 30%. 30% that he gets it. All right, what's next?
Okay. Sam Fisher says, I just saw a video of two guys, one in a Deadpool costume, one in a Wolverine costume, dancing and doing the choreography from Greatest Showman's from now on.
Oh, nice.
And now I really hope there is actually a scene of Deadpool and Wolverine dancing to that song in the movie.
I mean, listen,
I doubt it, but
Ryan Reynolds did something I didn't know he was capable of. He did that Christmas movie with Will Ferrell. Spirited, where he's not going to win any Grammys, but where he showed he can do song and dance numbers. Then you got one of the best guys in the world at it in Hugh Jackman, who he is the greatest showman.
Did you watch their interviews together where Hugh Jackman's just like, I mean, I can dance. My guy.
But the thing is, he's used to working with world-class dancers, right? But so I get that. So a song and dance number is not out of the question. I don't think they'll be doing any Greatest Showman numbers, which, by the way, guys, I know I always say it. If you haven't seen The Greatest Showman, watch The Greatest Showman. That happens to be my favorite song from the movie. From now on, I get emotionally moved hearing that song. It's so good. Go watch it. It's great. All right, what's next?
All right, James Giant Peaches says, Amy Pascal is executive producing an untitled Big Frog 104 based live action CG animated jukebox musical film for Paper Street Films. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Because I'm not even sure what I just read.
I know nothing about any of that. I don't know the company. I don't know the existing IP. Listen, Amy Pascal, though, listen, there's some times that I believe Amy Pascal might be coloring a different book than the rest of us. That being said, she has produced some big hit movies, man. She really has. So I don't know anything about the IP or the project, so I really can't have any thoughts on it. But if Amy Pascal's involved, it's always got potential. All right, what's next?
All right, you'll like this one, John. Christopher Rosado just watched Mystery Men with my friends for the
Yes!
first time. We were dying with laughter. Probably one of my favorite lines about Lance and Captain Amazing can't be the same person due to one wearing glasses. Also, the shoveler is probably my favorite.
Aw, love the show.
Lance wears glasses. Captain Amazing doesn't wear glasses. If Lance were Captain Amazing, how would he be able to see? It is one of my all-time like favorites. I don't think it's one of the all-time best movies, but it's one of my all-time favorites. I am Pencilhead, and I am son of Pencilhead. Together we erase crime. It is one of the greatest movies. I'm the PMS Avenger. I only work 4 days a month or something like that. It's one of the greatest movies ever. And everybody asks me, John, if you could pick a movie that got a sequel, like a movie that never got a sequel. I get asked this question all the time. If you could pick a movie that never got a sequel, that to get a sequel today, what would it be? My answer is always Mystery Men. When they ask me for reboots, I say Megaforce. But when they say sequel, it's Mystery Men. You're one of my greatest nemesis, says Nemesi?
Yeah.
Nemesis. Oh. Jeffrey Rush as Casanova Frankenstein is one of the greatest screen villains in history. The Disco Boys, the greatest thugs in history. It's just, the movie's so good. It's so good. Yeah, make sure you go and watch it. So great. All right, what's next?
All right. Spencer James says, hello from Aotearoa. I know I butchered that. New Zealand. Started listening in last year and wish I had known about you sooner. Thanks for accompanying me on my commutes to university and my shifts at work. Management haven't found out yet. Aroha Nui. Much love, Spencer.
Oh, thank you, man. I always love hearing from people who like find us recently and found out, because we get so many people say like, hey, I've been with you since the Man of Steel days, which is awesome. A lot of people since the AMC days. Some very rare of you who's like been around since the movie blog days, which is amazing. But I love that, and I love hearing about how people listen to us, so whether at their commuting or sometimes at work and stuff like that. I just like hearing. So thank you so much for joining us, man, and coming along for the ride with us. All right, what's next?
All right. Save Legends says, let me just dip down here a little bit. Says one of two. My main criticism of the Acolyte, Anakin being a Force child, feels less special now that Asha and May seem to have a similar origin, and Jedi are being portrayed so negatively. Regarding the second, yes, the Jedi Order are far from perfect. Save Legends of Tomorrow says, do some very questionable stuff throughout the history of Star Wars, but the way they are being presented in this show seems harsh. I really like Sol and his Padawan though, and think they should get a spin-off. With different writers, agree or disagree?
Actually, so far, the Jedi haven't been shown to do anything wrong. I mean, listen, one of the themes of Star Wars, especially in the last like bunch of years, like going back to the prequel movies, is that there's a theme that the arrogance of the Jedi is what kind of ultimately led to their downfall, right? And that's really what they kind of put on showcase a little bit. Like even Qui-Gon kind of alludes to that. But that's what's on showcase here. Just that they can walk in somewhere and say, hey, we're Jedi. We have the right to test your kids. We're going to go around and take your kids. Something I've always thought has kind of been a creepy thing about Jedi for the most part. So that's to me, but practically none of them have actually done anything wrong yet in the series. So I don't see them being portrayed in a negative light. Acting with hubris, yes, but they haven't done anything wrong yet. And again, as far as the Force Ghost thing, boo-hoo, or the Force Immaculate Conception, boo-hoo. Like, my position on that is George Lucas himself established stupidly, but George Lucas himself established in the prequels that the magic midi-chlorians, who are also just the dozers from Fraggle Rock, apparently, but the magical midi-chlorians can be used by the Force to make so-and-so knocked up and be the next Teen Mom contestant on TLC. I mean, it's been established in Star Wars that the Force can be used in such a way to cause someone to become pregnant. If you establish that, and by the way, neither Plagueis nor Sidious were ever portrayed as being the most powerful Force users of all time. So if a couple, like if a Nimblejack like that can manipulate the Force to make somebody pregnant, then it's established precedence in the Star Wars universe that can be done. And if that can be done, that means somebody else can do it. But here's the most important thing. Nowhere in that episode does the show say that's how the twins were born. Everybody's acting like that's how they're saying the twins were born. They didn't say that. They said, the mother just says, I created them. And the other mother says, but if they find out how you created them. So there's something going on, but it may not be a Force-induced immaculate conception like that. But even if it is, that's just consistent with the Star Wars universe. It's been established it can be done, so it means it can be done.
Maybe they're clones.
All that to say, maybe they're clones. All that to say, though, I didn't like the episode, and I don't like the show. I still think it's got some good things going for it, but I don't like the show. But again, the reality, they'll cry, no, it should only be an Anakin thing. Well, nothing ever said it was only an Anakin thing. And if they're saying it can be done, then it can be done. But again, I say that as somebody who doesn't like the show. So there's that. But let's see what happens. Again, maybe they'll say it was Force conception. Maybe they'll say they're clones. Maybe they'll say it's something else entirely. Some other ancient artifact or whatever, something else did. But again, I just want to emphasize that up until this point in the show, they never said that she just used the Force to make the other woman pregnant. They never say it. So I don't know. Let's see what happens later on. All right, what's next?
People use the Force to make people pregnant all the time. Inalo says, when Sister Sage asked the Deep about watching Transformers 2, I was dying of laughter. The first thing I thought was you. Their Hollywood jabs are on point.
This show is so freaking good. The Boys is so good. I just like everything about it. By the way, I love Sister Sage. I don't know anything. I think she's angling to take out Homelander. I think everything she's doing is about taking out Homelander. I don't know that. I'm just guessing here, but yeah, that show is so great. And I've always loved, even at his most pathetic, I've always loved the Deep.
Oh, he's hilarious. All of his commercials that he's been doing too, that they've been releasing, are incredible.
So funny. Now, I don't know if you saw it in this episode, but I'm just going to say at some point though, I love the fact that they're giving a little bit more force to the Deep, because somebody gets on his nerves and he's had enough, and he like goes up to them and just goes, listen, I am the damn Lord of the Seven Seas. I can do this and this and this. And the next time you speak to me like that, I will rip off your limbs. And I'm like, yeah, where's that been?
Yeah.
I kind of like seeing that a little bit.
Absolutely.
You go. But yeah, that scene with Sage and Deep is awesome.
Also,
Anyway.
shout out to that actress, because she was on the short-lived show Powers, and I'm so excited to see her back in
Was she in that?
Yeah, she was Dina. She was the
I
other.
had no idea.
Yeah. So when she first popped up, I was like, yes, I love her.
All right. What's next?
Reagan Crisp says, Cineworld has pissed me off with the Deadpool 3 release. I'm not sure what it's like at other cinemas, but from Wednesday through Saturday, the only IMAX screenings are 3D. Man, it sucks. First 2D IMAX isn't until the Sunday. They did this with Quantumania as well. 3D sucks so much.
I hate that. I remember this one trip I took back up to Canada. Every time I go, I take my mom to the movies. And we were I think it was Aquaman we were trying to go see. And great, hopped on the Cineplex app. That's the big theater chain in Canada. And like, out of like the 9 screenings, 8 of them were in 3D. And there was one at like 2:00 in the afternoon, non-3D screening. And they clearly only do that because they use that as a pretext to charge more for the tickets.
On top of IMAX.
Like on top, and it wasn't even just IMAX, right? They used it as a pretext to charge more for tickets and weren't giving people another option. And that's where my distaste for Cineplex really got hot, because Cineplex used to be my favorite movie. It used to be my dream to work for Cineplex. Used to be a dream of mine. I came to LA, started running everything for AMC theaters, but my real dream was I'm going to move back to Canada and I'm going to do what I'm doing here and I'm going to do it for Cineplex. That was my dream, to work for them. And then they became just shit dogs. I mean, they just became horrible. And I hate that practice. It's terrible. It's them trying to screw over their own customers. I don't like the practice at all. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says favorite Kurosawa movie.
Look, we went over this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and it's just the stereotypical thing to say, but it is Seven Samurai. I mean, it just is. There's a reason it's the most well-known, and there's a reason I think it's his best one. He's got several great ones, but I think that's his best. All right, what's next?
Jojo Giraffe says, highly doubt this will happen, but hypothetically, if a studio such as Disney, Warner Brothers, or Universal tried to buy a big theater chain like AMC or Regal, do you think the FTC would try to block those mergers based on anti-competitiveness?
No, there were laws in place that prevented that. They were known as the Paramount Decrees, and they had been around since the 50s or 40s or something like that. They've been around a long time, decades and decades and decades. In 2020, the Paramount Decrees got wiped off the books, which opened the door that said movie studios can own movie theaters. The issue was no studio in their right mind wanted to own movie theaters because it's a bloody headache to run movie theaters and it's super expensive to do it and extremely razor thin margins. Now, in case you missed the news, Sony just bought Alamo Drafthouse. But keep in mind, that is a high profile name movie theater chain, but only 36 locations. Right? So, okay. And there's a prestige that comes along with that, but buying something like Regal or AMC is a completely different thing. Completely different. So, no, there are no legal obstacles in the way for a Disney or a Warner Brothers or a Universal from buying AMC and Regal. It's just that why would they want to? There were legal obstacles, but those have been taken off the books. So they could if they want to, but it's just who would want to do that? All right, what's next?
Homie Juan Kenobi says, yesterday I saw Ishana Knight, Shyamalan's The Watchers, and wow, it's pretty bad. It's the Madam Web of folktale movies. I think she should have let her father guide her through her first movie more. Her dad's first movie was Sixth Sense. Hers was nonsense.
Oh, dang, Bart.
Was his first Sixth Sense?
I don't know.
I thought he did. Anyway, that's a side point. She came out on stage at CinemaCon this year and introduced the presentation for The Watchers. And I thought the presentation looked really good. And I was actually getting quite excited to see it until I heard almost everybody say it was terrible. And all right, whatever. So I personally avoided it after that because I heard a lot of people say it was bad. So I'm not saying it was bad. I didn't see it. I just heard a lot of people say it was bad. So, but you know what? Whatever. It's her first film. We'll see how it goes. Maybe ideally she'll learn from this experience. She'll figure out what worked and what didn't work and then hopefully get better. All right, what's next?
Sixth Sense was technically his third directed film. So he had a couple practice runs.
All right.
Thomas Bombadil says, hi team, so I've enjoyed Dark Matter on Apple TV Plus so far, but this week's episode completely blew my mind. Apart from Everything Everywhere All at Once, I still know that acronym, this might be the best take on a multiverse story I've ever seen. It's a theoretical physicist's wet dream.
I still haven't watched one episode of it. Despite the fact that you got Jennifer Connelly in there and who's Uncle Owen again? I keep freezing.
Not Edge.
He was in Warrior.
Edgerton.
What's that?
Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton. I love Joel Edgerton. I still haven't started watching it yet. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to start watching it because, like, on top of the Acolyte running, we got The Boys is now back. House of the Dragon is about to launch again. Hopefully, I'll get around to it because everything about it looks appealing to me, and I'm hearing great things about it. So I hope to start catching up on it soon. All right, what's next?
All right. Heisenberg says, hi, John and company. Hope you're all well. Did you get a chance to watch Welcome to Wrexham Season 3? I have one more episode left. Great season again, and it got renewed for Season 4, too. Up the town and into Premier League in 2 to 3 years. Thanks for bringing IC Championship League. Premier is going to be a big hurdle.
They don't have the money for it.
Money-wise. You're going against billionaires.
Yeah, I remember Jonathan and I were just talking about this, is like their main right-hand guy, who I can't remember his name, the super tall, awkward guy who's kind of their right hand. He's got the beard and everything. I think he's Hugh or something like that. Anyway, let's just call him Hugh. If any of you guys in the live chat know the guy's actual name, let us know. But anyway, he was talking about the fact that the higher up they go, it's going to become harder and harder for Ryan and Rob, because he points out, he goes, Ryan and Rob have movie star money. And that's great. Movie star money is adorable. But Humphrey, that's his name. Humphrey. I knew it was something like that. Thank you. I think the first Joe Adonis T was the first one to say it. He said, Robin and Ryan have movie star money. That's great. That's nice. But once you get to those upper echelon leagues, you're dealing with multi billionaires that run those teams. And it becomes a totally different thing. Welcome to Wrexham, though, is so freaking wonderful. It's just a feel-good, heartwarming, well-told, beautifully laid out story that they manage. A couple of guys running a soccer team, how do they consistently make me so engaged in the story of all these individual people that they bring in and out of their lives? I'm even completely enthralled with the story of the women's team.
I love
like
that.
I'm so hooked on the story of the women's team that they're about to do what Wrexham did. Like, we got promotion and we're about to finish in the top again. And it's just like such a heartbreaking that the girl who was the daughter of the former Wrexham player, she got cut from the team.
Yeah. But she's such a great attitude about it.
I think she's going to come back.
I think so too.
I think they tease that to tease come back. And you've been watching Wrexham.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we've talked about this before. This is a show that honestly has helped me tremendously with understanding sport so much more. Because even though I am somebody who tries very hard to not yuck anyone's yum, sports have been a thing, especially growing up in the South, and sport funding, taking funding from theater departments and being almost a religion to people, I've had a hang up about. And this show does a great job of making me understand, wow, this is so important to a town. This is so important to social dynamics, so important to the mental health of a whole community and how these people can interact with each other. I love it. It's so great, but I also worry that Wrexham is cursed because so many bad things have happened to these sweet people.
Oh, that in that town and like the history. Oh, yeah. All right, what's next?
We got Luchelle Mybell, who says, what are your thoughts on the daily barrage of false rumors within Hollywood that scoop false information? I find them exhausting. What goes on in the mind of someone who starts these rumors?
I think part of the reality is, and I honestly believe this is true. I'm not just trying to be nice. I think a lot of times, like, false rumors start getting around based on outlets getting that information. And when I say outlets, I use that term loosely. I mean, like any kind of podcast or blog or whatever, I use that term loosely. But still, you know, I think there's a number of these smaller quote unquote outlets that run with something because they did hear it from somebody. Like, maybe they didn't vet the source, or maybe it should have been questionable in the first place. But I don't know that a lot of these places straight up make up a lie in their head and say, I'm going to run with this and hopefully it'll get me some traction. I honestly think a lot of times they probably legitimately heard that from somebody and decided to run with it. That's fair. That's why I always tell people, when you see a headline, don't just say, like, somebody will say to me, John, did you see that comic.com is reporting this? And I'm like, but where did it come from? And they were like, we just told you, comic.com. And I'm like, well, no. Read the article. And who did they say it came from? And like, oh, they said they saw it on Twitter handle FixMyShoe105. They just saw it on Twitter. I'm like, okay, there you go. It didn't come from comic.com. It came from a random Twitter user who's got 200 followers, right? So I always tell people, try to know and look into where it's actually coming from. And, you know, it is unfortunate, but I mean, it's part of it. People like to talk. The problem becomes when we start putting out wrong information, right? That's where it becomes thing. And listen, I've been guilty of it myself. Like, I told people that Snoke was Darth Plagueis, because I'd heard that from two different sources. I remember me and Christian Harloff. Christian found out from somebody completely different, and I had gotten it from two other sources as well. And so I remember on AMC Movie Talk one day, I came out and said, this upcoming movie, we got this Snoke character. It's Darth Plagueis. I found out it's Darth Plagueis. Guess what? It wasn't Darth Plagueis. And that, you could ask anybody that worked for me at the time. I was fucking infuriated at myself. Nothing pisses me off more than the idea that I put out wrong information for people to go with. It happens though, even to the best of intentions, even if you try to follow every single rule that you can, it can happen. So I don't know. I think a lot of people will just make up fake stuff because they want it to be true. People make up fake stuff because they want to try to damage a property. They want to damage an IP. Hence a lot of the bullshit you see coming out of these hate communities trying to tarnish or hurt an IP. I think some of the fake stuff comes out from very well-intentioned, well-meaning people who thought it was legitimately correct stuff. And some people just do it to try to get attention. So it's always one of those. All right, what's next?
Tack says, loved Inside Out 2, one of the better Pixar sequels, and all the new emotions added something new to the table organically. I know Pixar includes development tech innovations in their budgets, but this still didn't look like a $200 million film, though.
Yeah, it did. I mean, when you understand what goes into making a movie on that level, yeah, it really does. How many hundreds and thousands of people they took to make that movie, what those people make in salaries, the equipment and the technology and all that kind of stuff. It's expensive to make those movies on that level. It really, now listen, you can get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that uses a very different, very more inexpensive, I'm not going to say cheap, but a more economical, let's say that, method of making animation, all kind of stuff. You can do that. But if you want to make a movie that looks like a Pixar movie, it's going to cost money. All right, what's next?
Abraham says, hi, John. Yesterday was the day Inside Out 2 came out, and it left me speechless. While not as sad like the first one, it hit me in the emotions. What a great movie. My theater was laughing and crying through the whole movie. Maybe top 10 Pixar film.
It's very difficult. Like, first of all, I agree. I loved it. I thought it was great. It is very difficult, though. One day out from watching it, to put it into a historical context, right? I'm very hesitant to see a movie once and then go, this is in the top 7 all-time movie, right? It's got to sit with you a little bit. I think so. Top 10 Pixar, maybe. That just tells you how good Pixar has been, Chris. When you when you say top 10 Pixar and you got to go, oh wait, even though the movie's awesome, does it get in the top 10? I don't know. Did you have a feeling about that when you came out of it?
It's one of those things with Pixar too, because you just kind of go back through that Rolodex, right? But I also really love The Incredibles, and oh my gosh, Ratatouille, and then Up is so good. You just have so many different ones to go through.
Start to run out quick.
Yeah, it's definitely a contender, but I'd need to see it again.
All right, what's next?
Raymond Verada says, it's been 2 years since The Boys aired. Some actors look older since then. You mentioned The Boys have a take on everybody, the left, the right, and even foresaw Bronny on joining the same team as his dad. A little TMZ, Huey and Newman are dating in real life.
Oh.
What, the girl plays Starlight?
No, the Congresswoman. Isn't that Newman?
Oh yeah, you're right. They're actually dating in real life? By the way, she's one of the more, I honestly feel like she's one of the more fascinating characters in the world of The Boys, because I still don't really know where she's at in this whole thing. Her daughter freaked me the hell out because that was in the first episode.
Oh my
Right?
God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her daughter freaked me out. But
Don't like that
that's kind
power.
of neat to see. The one thing I will say about The Boys is that they've become less subtle in their political stuff. Like, it's not subtle anymore. There's nothing subtle about it.
I love that Kripke though was like, well, then watch something else. You don't like it, watch something else. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Like, I'm making the show I want to make.
I got paid.
Yeah.
I'm really rich. Go ahead. Don't watch my show. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Ezekiel who says, hey, John and team, Deadline is reporting that tracking began today for Deadpool and Wolverine, and it currently holds a domestic opening weekend of over $200 million. Do you think the movie can actually fulfill these projections?
Yeah, and obviously that came in before we got to the topic, obviously. But I mean, yeah, listen, that's insane. The fact that an R-rated film could potentially become a top 5 biggest opening of all time, when currently the highest R-rated opening is number 42. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. And if it does come anywhere near those numbers, tell me more about this comic book movie fatigue. I can't wait to hear more about it. Please tell me more. All right. Anyway. All right. What's next?
Megan Red says, hi crew, happy Friday. Loving the boys so far. Not crazy about Frenchie's story being a love triangle plot. I find those generic and often cringy. Kimiko also seems to have an abrupt change to her characterization, but open to seeing where it all goes.
See, the Kimiko stuff I actually really like because they've evolved. She evolves season to season, right? So this season, she is now far more, she's still struggling with the speech stuff, but she is far more comfortable just being now. And I like that. The Frenchie thing, I said this before, it's the one thing that doesn't quite sit right with me because it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, Frenchie's bisexual now? And again, I confess that if I went back through seasons 1, 2, and 3, they might have been alluded to before because, I mean, let's be honest, he's French. So maybe, I mean, I don't know, but it did kind of seem to come out of nowhere.
Well, we had that flashback in the previous season of when, Frenchie is with Sherry and there's the OD situation. And they always kept talking about the three of them being a family. And I took that as the three of them having a relationship.
It was mildly implied there, wasn't it?
That's why, for me, this wasn't particularly jarring.
Okay. For me, because I didn't remember that. And because it hit me like out of nowhere.
Well, Logan had the same thing where he went, whoa, what's the deal with this?
Yeah.
I went, oh, no, do you remember that guy? So I think that's kind of the hint that we had before.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, just finished Lost for the first time.
Wow.
All right. The first few seasons are cool and a great mystery, but it felt like it lost steam near the end. You're not alone. The ending was fine, not the ending I expected. Much different from where the show starts. What are y'all opinions on that? Well, boy, that started 20 years ago.
Yeah, look, I've said this before. I was late to Lost. I started binging it prior to the series ending, though. So I got caught up before it ended. To me, the show was amazing. And then it had one episode that for me was the Jump the Shark episode. The episode that was all the flashbacks showing the origins of the black smoke monster. That episode to me, I'm like, that's what you're going with? It was so bad. And the show lost me at that point. No pun intended. But yeah, I didn't tap out. Like I kept watching the rest of it through to its end, but that's to me where the show died. The show died. But overall, it's a fabulous show. Lost is wonderful overall. Did you ever get through all of Lost?
Nope.
Did you ever even start it?
I watched a couple episodes and that smoke monster I laughed at and went, why are you guys watching this?
Yeah, the origin of the smoke monster is the one that lost me. I was just like, really? That's what we're doing? Anyway, it's kind of lost me.
I hear there's some great stuff in there, but
there
I just,
is.
Oh, it's
I never
great,
got
man.
into it.
Overall is a great show. It really is. It just
Once they started answering questions, because again, JJ loves the mystery box, but once you ask him to start answering it, he's like, oh, it's Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel.
yeah. Once
We're
they
just like,
started
oh.
trying
It's a
to
security
answer
system.
questions, it became, huh?
Yeah.
Really?
And,
That's
and everyone kept saying they better not be in purgatory. That is not what we're doing. And then it's like basically that's what they did.
That's what I heard. Okay.
all right. What's next?
If you don't answer me, says, first off, I don't like Nazis. You know, I often start my sentences like this too.
Strong position.
I've got to
strong
preface
position
this.
to start with.
To
This
say
is number
something so
one.
bold.
I don't like Nazis. But have you seen The Green Room?
Yeah, Patrick Stewart was in that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I was rooting for them to kill the lead because you don't call the police after witnessing a murder in front of them at their club. Still a good watch, but they should have died right there.
That
That movie was
was
brutal, man.
that was a small little movie. I mean, kudos to you for even calling it out. That was all the way back in our AMC days, I think. I
Yeah.
think we might have done some interviews.
He did. He came in,
That's right.
and it was like maybe a few weeks after that he passed away. I was like, I
oh,
couldn't believe
yes.
it. It literally
Yeah.
was like we had seen him, and then 3 weeks later he had that accident.
You know what? That happened to us a couple of times that we would have somebody on and like not long after that, like they would pass away. Like also, didn't we
I had
have
to start calling people to not come in anymore.
like, did we not have, oh damn, who sings Linkin Park? We had Linkin Park on a comic book.
That's right. It was comic book shopping with
We had
Schnapp.
Lincoln Park and comic book shopping, and
Yeah.
it wasn't long after that, I think.
Yeah,
That
because I remember Fernandez had come in. He's like, I have really bad news.
yeah, and the guy, yeah, that happened to us a few times, which was anyway. All right, what's next?
We got Mike, who says, Happy Friday, all. Saw Inside Out 2 in IMAX last night, and before the movie, they played a PG version of the Deadpool trailer. I was just saying, I haven't seen one on the big screen yet. There was no banner saying this trailer was for an R-rated movie. Should Disney be including that? It definitely had an R. Definitely in that trailer, it had the rating.
No, it
You may-
didn't.
It
didn't.
doesn't.
As a matter of fact,
It has. Don't all trailers always have
no. What happens is, a trailer for an R-rated movie is still a green band trailer, right? It's just if the trailer itself is R-rated, it'll have a
but
red band trailer, right?
I thought most trailers will show the rating of a film.
They don't. They didn't in the Deadpool one.
It's just a MPAA thing.
Yeah,
Just be
like
green, but
at
it
the
won't have a
bottom, if
rating
I'm
on
not
it.
mistaken, I think at the bottom of the green band trailer notification screen that comes up, this trailer is for a film that is rated R or something like that, but that'll be in small print down at the bottom.
And they don't show any lettering like PG or PG-13.
But yeah,
anymore.
there's nothing in the trailer that says Deadpool now rated R. Like it's not in the trailer. All right, what's next? But I'll say this. Do they need to put that? No, they don't need to put that in trailer. That's your responsibility. It'll say when you go to buy your movie tickets, this is an R-rated movie. Just like every other movie that's coming out. It's your responsibility as the consumer it'll put the information right in front of you. That's for you to figure out.
Bring your children, you cowards.
Yeah, bring you
Come on.
cowards.
Let's go.
All right, what's next?
Oh, I gotta scroll down. Okay, hang on. I gotta find out where I was because I just scrolled down. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, Anonymous' childhood is wanting to be a Jedi. Adulthood is realizing that Padawans have little to no agency over their lives and are basically child soldiers.
Oof.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong. Listen, as we get older, we start to look at a lot of the Star Wars lore and think, Jedi going around the galaxy, identifying young children and taking them away to the Jedi Temple. Interesting. Kind of scummy. A little bit creepy. Yeah. I mean, not wrong. Obviously, thankfully, with very well-intentioned generals, child soldiers of like people who have their best interests at heart, sure. But yeah, on its surface, it's if that was going on in real world, we would say, I have a problem with that. I think there would be some of that. Yeah, no doubt. All right, what's next?
Some kids need to be sent off to Jedi camp. Osmond says,
Jonathan. No.
Osmond says, hello. Just wanted to thank you for making our 1-year-old smile every time you guys cover Inside Out 2. We thought it was emotion, but is actually you and the emotions.
Aw. You
That's
know,
sweet.
I've had a few times.
Having tough days at home, Jonathan? I'm sorry, that was late.
I just love that you're the only parent in the room.
Some kids need Jedi school.
Oh,
I have had the occasion a couple of times where we've had viewers, one not too long ago, literally send me video footage of them sitting in their living room with their child and like with me on the screen, and like I'll come up on the screen with greetings and salutations, and then they put the thing on their child and their child's face smiles and goes, basically I appeal only to 11-month-olds. That's my big appeal, which makes me feel a little bit awkward too when I realize how often I swear on the show. That makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but I do love that. You have no idea how much that warms my heart. Actually, it makes me feel really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right, what's next?
Well, I got good news, Osmond. Anonymous says, went to see Inside Out 2 yesterday. I feel like I liked it a lot more than the first one.
Nice.
I did too. I went to a Dolby at 7:45 showing, and it was full on a Thursday. I was a little shocked. I went at 5:30 and my Dolby was full.
yeah.
We were at 3:00 and it was full. We were in an IMAX screen and it was full. I mean, it is really surprising. Look, I knew the movie would do well. It's Inside Out. I mean, I knew it would do well, but I just didn't. Leading up to it, I didn't think it would do that well. So we'll see what the final numbers are on Monday. See how well it did on its opening weekend. But man, if it gets to that like $85-90 million mark, that's impressive. All right, what's next?
On to member, CJ Rebirth says, I had so much fun watching Inside Out 2. Found it almost just as good as the first one. I felt that joy, sadness, anxiety, and envy were the VIPs. I also like disgust in here more. I did too.
And you know what? Anger had a much bigger role in this one too.
Yeah,
They
it
did a
was
lot,
great.
which I love Lewis Black. But Anger had some really, really choice stuff in it too that I thought was really good. But yeah, they were all represented very well. Like I said, even Ennui, which I didn't like at first, but I actually ended up liking Ennui. All right, what's next?
Amin says, which Pixar film that hasn't gotten a sequel yet do you think could get one? Should or could get one? I personally would love to see a direct sequel to Monsters, Inc. with an older Boo.
Yeah, but that contradicts your question. Monsters Inc. did get a sequel, as a matter of fact.
Well, it got a prequel.
Well, yes. So,
It was
but it got
Monsters
another
University.
film. It got another film.
Yeah.
I always thought too, what if we found out Boo was Riley? Or if we found out that Boo ends up being another character in another Pixar film? Like
There was one of those weird Disney theories where it was like, Boo is actually the witch from Brave. Because she's always just appearing through doors.
yeah, that's not a good
Yeah.
theory.
Which
That
I was
one
like,
doesn't work.
no, I don't think so.
Um,
I'd like a sequel to it, though.
one that hasn't had a sequel. They've done shorts and they've done a Doug series. I mean, a sequel to Up, seeing more of just those characters would always be nice. We already got a sequel for The Incredibles. I don't really feel like we need one for Ratatouille, although that is one of my
It's a
favorite
beautiful
Pixar
movie.
films.
But that's perfect.
I
I mean,
don't
so
know
is
where,
The Incredibles, though. So
and I don't know where you go with Wall-E.
Oh,
Wall-E is one of their best films, but I don't know where you go with
don't
that
touch that one.
after that one ends. I don't know. It's a good question. I'd have to think about it. Right now, I'd say Turning Red 2. I love that movie. That movie's so good. All right, what's next?
We got
Two Rat, Two Tui.
Too chewy. The Brandon Salas says, rewatched The Boys season 3 and was well reminded how incredible this show is. It doesn't rely whatsoever on superhero isms. It's just a great drama with plenty of deep three-dimensional characters.
I often refer to it as a skin because, in video games, you can have your character, but then you can put another skin on it, right? To make it look so. The Boys is actually a fabulous human experience kind of drama wrapped in the skin of a superhero satire. And it's done brilliantly. Like, I absolutely love the show, man. All right, what's next?
Okay. Jai CSC says, back in the days when stuff was allowed to be cut from movies, I jest mostly, who would determine what scene subplots would be removed? The editor, producer, or director?
Always the director. I mean, unless the producer had final cut and decided they want to make some change. But generally speaking, the director has final say over their cut. Now, there are definitely times when studios come in and took over an editing room from a director. That happens. It's not often. But generally speaking, it's the director's decision. All right, what's next?
Sir Malmston says, Marvel Comics has announced that its latest Disney mashup is set to arrive this fall as Donald Duck as Thor hits the one-shot comic adventure Marvel and Disney. What if? Which Disney character would you pick as a Marvel hero?
First of all, that sounds delightful. Man, I don't know.
Which one did they? He
It
said
was Donald Duck as
Donald's
Thor.
gonna be
Doug as Thor.
Thor. Who could Goofy be? Hawkeye? A Goofy Hawkeye movie, maybe?
does he have to be an Avenger? He'd be a great Mr.
No.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it could be anything. Goofy could
Goofy
be
as Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah,
That
I
could
love
work.
the idea of him being like the smartest man in the world. with just
That
a
could work. Who's this new
gorge.
Storm?
Oh, it could be Annabelle the cow.
Or
Daisy Duck.
if you
Daisy
want to,
Duck.
maybe if you want to create drama, Daisy Duck or Minnie Mouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Goofy
so fun though.
smashing
And then
Minnie.
make Donald Doom. I don't like Miss
Donald
Thor. I want him to be
Doom.
Victor Von Doom.
Donald Doom.
Donald Doom.
All right, we got time for two more. What's next?
Slarf says, just finished Dune Messiah. Yeah, I've got no clue how they could possibly adapt this book and have people enjoy it. An action movie about the events could be cool, though.
Look, there is nobody in Hollywood I trust more right now than Denis Villeneuve. Nobody. So, if anybody can make a crowd-pleasing movie version of Dune Messiah, it'll be him. I just don't know how on earth you do it. I just think people are going to be very unhappy. Now, again, he could take it and radically adapt it and make big changes to it. keep some of the core elements of Dune Messiah, but change a lot to make it a much better movie than a direct translation of that book would be. Because the fact of the matter is, Dune Messiah is not nearly as good as the earlier Dune books that came before it. And there's a lot of books that came after it. The series gets totally wacky. But if anybody can do it, it's Denis Villeneuve. If anybody can, it's him. All right, what's next?
And the Bang says, "Hey crew, it's my birthday today. And
Happy
it's a
birthday!
great time spending it with y'all. What is your guys' favorite funny moment from the show? Race Trade Federation clip. Daughter is in good hands. Clip.
That's right. I
Clip
remember
always
that.
makes me laugh. To many more funny times with this amazing community."
Oh God, I don't know. There's, I mean, one of my favorites was actually the earthquake.
The earthquake was
The
fun.
earthquake. I mean,
Yeah, that's the one I
That
always
was
go back
ridiculous.
and rewatch. Every
like
now.
when we were right in the middle of doing the show, we get.
bill.
First of all, Chris
Poor
gets all
Aaron.
excited.
I was so pumped. I was awake.
The first couple of little hits of the earthquake hit, and Chris is like, "This is the first California earthquake," and then the big hit.
No, the Seinfeld.
It was the Seinfeld, and I went, oh,
And then okay.
Yeah,
let's
big
go.
hit. And Chris's face went from excitement to
oh.
oh.
Poor Aaron was
And
just
poor
like,
Aaron,
oh,
I thought she
no.
was going to pee herself.
Was Joey
That-
there?
No.
Joey wasn't there yet.
And I was just annoyed that it was interfering with our show. I'm just, all right, we gotta stop, guys, because if things start falling over, that was fine. But on Aaron, when Aaron punked me
Oh, yeah.
with the whole Star Trek, Star Wars thing, she got me. She got me good. Because somebody asked a question and like it was a Star Wars, I can't remember the exact context.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, guys, you're thinking. Then Aaron asked a question, but didn't they do this in it? And I'm like, no, that's Star Trek. And she goes, isn't that the same thing? But I mean, she is a master actor, so she sold me. I'm like, because the moment she said, isn't that the same thing? I felt my brain break. Like I think people saw I had
You short circuited.
temporary paralysis.
Yeah.
I was just like, and then Chris, oh yeah, that one got me pretty good too. That
It
one got me
happened in
pretty good.
between being on air, but the inception of We All the Same is,
Oh, yeah,
is
that's
one
true.
of my favorites.
Yeah, no one actually
No one
saw
will-
that.
And no one will ever know.
Yeah,
I
that
looked at
was born through the Force.
Yeah,
So,
that
So
was.
I'm not going to give you the specific details, but We All the Same is an evolution. What it really started off was we all sound the same.
We all sound the same.
We all sound the same when blah 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 blah, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
won't reveal
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And we all the same. Yeah, that came from something that I will never reveal on air.
And
Yeah,
I
and I
forget,
get messages all the time. What does it mean? I'm like,
Yep. Nope. Never gonna say.
Amy did something once too that broke Robert Meyer Burnett.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
yeah.
that was it.
All right, let's take one last one. One last one, then we'll call it
Okay.
a day.
Jose says about 2023 movies. Which movie do you think will be most long remembered from 2023? Barbie because of massive box office, or Oppenheimer because of the awards? Another movie.
Oppenheimer.
I see Oppenheimer.
Barbie was Barbie's a great movie. It's not just a successful movie. It was a really good movie. And I really enjoyed it. And that's great. But Oppenheimer is, if made by another director other than Christopher Nolan, it's your Rembrandt if you're a director, right? It's your magnum opus if you're any other director other than Christopher Nolan, who seems to have a lot of these. But yeah, it'll be Oppenheimer. But really, to the point of some of our live viewers like Green Tea and Carl Tuckerson are saying, it'll actually be Barbenheimer that will be probably remembered more than both of them. Like
Was he? Oh, sorry. Was
go
he
ahead.
asking about just the movies themselves, or
Yeah, of the year
the
of
whole
2023?
package of the experience of watching? Because if we're talking about that, I think Barbie was the more memorable experience for me because of the crowd in there, everyone wearing pink, and like just the fanfare before and
Yeah, I
then
just don't
the
think people
movie
are
in
gonna
general.
talk, but I think what he's asked is like, I don't think people are going to be talking about Barbie, say in 2032. I don't think people are going to be talking about Barbie as much as they talk about Oppenheimer.
And the only reason why I bring that up is every time we talk about our movie experiences, I always bring up the Avengers 1.
Yeah,
How
well, me
big that
too.
crowd-
Yeah.
And even though it's not the best Avengers movie, I don't think, like out of all them, it's still the most memorable to me.
From that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this a show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, you gave us great fun things to talk about. And number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora.
Ronnie Chang, Yamava.
Yeah, we're going to go see Ronnie Chang tonight. We got Jonathan Voico,
See you guys next week.
Chris Carr.
Bye, guys.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bing bong.